Welcome to a new week and a new edition of CNN 10. I'm Carl Azus. Happy to see you this Monday. When international stock markets open on September 16th, one thing investors around the world are watching is the price of oil. It's crucial for world economies because it's their major source of energy, and a country that's a major supplier of oil saw its oil facilities attacked on Saturday. As many as 10 drones, unmanned aircraft, hit oil plants in Saudi Arabia. The kingdom is the world's largest exporter of oil, and the attacks hit the world's largest oil processing facility. Saudi Arabia says no one was hurt, but half of its oil production was disrupted, and that accounts for 5% of the world's daily oil supply. So as Saudi Arabia rushes to repair the damaged plants, investors want to see if and how this affects oil prices worldwide. They've been relatively low for months, but could go up significantly because of this. So, who did it? Houthi rebels in neighboring Yemen say they did. They've been fighting for control of Yemen in that nation's civil war. But Saudi Arabia, which supports Yemen's government, has been leading an international fight against the Houthi rebels. So the Houthis say they attacked Saudi Arabia's oil facilities in response. But not everyone's convinced. The U.S. government blames Iran for planning the attack, calling it an assault on the world's energy supply. Iran does support Yemen's Houthi rebels, but the country says it wasn't involved in the Saudi oil attack and called the U.S. accusation meaningless. Tensions have been soaring between America and Iran since last year, when the U.S. pulled out of a controversial nuclear deal with the Middle Eastern nation. So as investors watch oil prices, Saudi Arabia works to repair its facilities, and the U.S. and Iran bristle at each other, international politics are among the cast of tensions on the world stage.
The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the United States are two unexpected allies. One's an autocracy, the other a democracy. There are many differences between the two, but one thing they have in common is that each country has what the other wants. Saudi Arabia has oil and the United States has arms. To understand how reciprocal the relationship is, we need to go back to how it started. Saudi Arabia as we know it was founded in 1932 by King Abdulaziz. A few years later, oil was struck and American companies, sensing an opportunity, moved in.
It was a relationship which was based on a company, Standard Oil, in the name of the US government trying to look for access to oil resources.
This picture shows where the relationship crystallized. This was Saudi Arabia's founder, King Abdulaziz, meeting US President Franklin Roosevelt on the USS Quincy on the Suez Canal in 1945.
The United States wanted to have a secure access to the oil resources, and at the same time they would provide the Saudi Kingdom with access to arms and obviously provide protection.
As the years passed, the relationship strengthened. Standard Oil founded Aramco, the Arabian American oil company which controlled every oil well and barrel in the country. And as the oil flowed into the US, American-made arms flowed into the kingdom. Between 1950 and 2017, Saudi Arabia bought more than $100 billion worth of arms from the US, making the kingdom the country's biggest customer. It's a relationship so strong that even when Saudi Arabia and the US are on opposite sides of an issue, arms continue to flow. For example, in 1973 and the start of the Yom Kippur War, Egypt and Syria launched a surprise offensive against Israel. The US responded supporting Israel, which Saudi opposed. The kingdom and its OPEC allies responded by setting an oil embargo, reducing production and significantly impacting the US economy. But there was no slowdown in arms sales.
If we look at the actual figures of arms supplies to Saudi Arabia from the US, we do see that that was around the time, but we really see a very significant increase in those arms supplies, which then continued over the decades. And partly this may also be related to the fact that that really was the moment that oil prices really increased very rapidly.
Even 9/11, where 15 out of the 19 attackers were Saudi, did little to rattle the arms relationship with the kingdom, which has denied any involvement in the attacks.
Around 2005, there was a dip in the volume of deliveries of weapons from the US to Saudi Arabia, but I think that didn't necessarily have to do with 9/11. I think it had more to do with the fact that Saudi Arabia didn't have the best financial conditions at that time, and that it had already stocked up on a very large quantity of advanced arms.
And in 2017, US President Donald Trump's first foreign visit was to Saudi Arabia, where he signed an arms deal said to be worth $110 billion.
For a long time, Saudi Arabia hasn't really used its equipment very much, but that started to change. In 2015, we see the let's say, the full-scale military intervention by Saudi Arabia in Yemen.
The Yemen conflict has become the world's worst humanitarian crisis, with tens of thousands killed. It's also widely seen as a proxy war between Iran and Saudi Arabia, with Houthi rebels supported by Iran and pro-government forces supported by the Saudi-led coalition. The world has changed a lot since the relationship between Saudi Arabia and the USA began. Imports of oil from the kingdom to the US have dropped by 47% since a high in 1991. Since that first accord in 1932, Saudi Arabia has had 7 kings, the US has had 14 presidents. But through it all, the bond between these two nations has remained unbreakable.
10-second trivia. Though Hong Kong isn't independent from China, it is considered a what? Semi-autonomous republic, special administrative region, autonomous region, or protectorate? Hong Kong is a special administrative region. Its people have more freedoms than those in mainland China. Hong Kong's government says it's open to increasing communication with the public to solve the city's problems. For the 15th weekend in a row, there were no signs those problems are going away. There was a large, peaceful march on Sunday. There were also incidents of vandalism and attacks on police. Demonstrators want more democratic freedom for Hong Kong. But if struggles continue between them and their local government, it's possible China could step in. It says it has ultimate control over the special administrative region.
This is the 15th straight weekend of confrontations and protests here in Hong Kong, and this is a very typical sight here. Large numbers of riot police deployed after demonstrators conducted a protest march which had not been authorized by the police through the downtown of Hong Kong Island, and then it was followed up with scenes of demonstrators coursing through the streets, tear gas, water cannons. It's a scene that has repeated itself week after week. We witnessed on this evening a group of demonstrators beating a man quite badly on a street corner. We're not sure why he was targeted, but he left dazed and bloodied. Now, the fact is that hundreds of people have been detained thus far, arrested, and this has taken a toll on the Hong Kong economy. Hotels have large numbers of vacancies, airplane ticket sales are down, retail sales are down as well, and Hong Kong's reputation has taken a beating. The Hong Kong government has taken some steps to try to meet some protester demands, but at this stage, there seems to be no political settlement in sight. And as you can hear, many ordinary citizens now view the police as targets of derision. Police commanders have told CNN it will take years to recover from the damage that their reputation has suffered through this cycle of confrontation. Ivan Watson, CNN, Hong Kong.
At Indiana's Purdue University, there's a new delivery team on campus. They don't talk much, but they do bring students something to chew on. Customers can order food and drinks using a smartphone app. The meals are plopped into the robots, which then zip around and drop them off within minutes. They're automated, though the people who monitor them can take control if needed, and the company that provides the service hopes to expand it in the years ahead. The question is, will the Meals on Wheels be slow in the snow? Will they beat the heat with the food you eat, or will they arrive at all if the leaves and fall mire the tires and cause impairments that need repairments? Guess the robots will have to learn the do's and don'ts of drone livery. I'm Carl Azus, delivering another edition of CNN.